In this video, we'll look at some of the basic tools used for modeling NURBS surfaces. Now, NURBS are different than polygonal or subdivision surface models because they deal with curves and then patches that are based off of the connection of those curves to create continuously smooth surfaces. So in order to start creating something like this, you'll need to have some curves to start working with. Now, there is a curves tab right next to the surfaces tab. You can create circles, squares, and then a variety of other shapes, either by pointing out plots, by drawing with a pencil, which you need to be a little careful of because it creates a lot of control vertices and then can be very hard to edit after the fact. And then you can create kind of a radial arc. So we'll base this off of creating 3 sections, and then it will connect those to form an arc of a perfect circle. So we'll use that one in a moment here. And once you have a curve or curves created, then you can create different surfaces by using these creation tools. So we'll start by looking at some of the basic ones here. Let's go ahead and create a simple curve. So here in my front view, I'm going to create a curve just with a few points. So I'm just going to start clicking, and as I click 2 points, it will connect those 2 points with a straight line, and then as soon as I add a third, it will start to create a curve. And as you hold the mouse button down, you can edit the position of that point, but once you release, you're stuck for now and have to go on to the next point. You can always come back and edit those control vertices later. So let's just do kind of the obligatory early modeling glass. We'll just create a simple glass here. So once I've got my curve completed, I can go ahead and press Enter or Q, and then that will create the curve. Like I said, if you want to edit this, you can go ahead and right click and choose Edit Point, and then you can move your points around as you see fit. So let's go back here to object mode, and then I'm going to cut back over to my 3D view here so that I can see my object. And let's select that curve, go back over to surfaces, and the first thing that we'll look at is a revolve. And this is a very simple method for creating geometry, and all it's going to do is take the shape that we have and it's going to revolve it around an axis. Now in this case, I had previously used the tool around the Z axis, so you can see it's going around the Z right now, which is really not quite what we want. We want to revolve this around the Y, or the vertical axis. So I'm going to start by double clicking on this revolve tool, and the default is actually the Y. I'd been working with it previously, so it changed over to Z. So I'm going to select Y and then select the surface and go ahead and click revolve. There you go. You can see you have a simple NURBS surface that you've created. Now, one of the nice things about creating NURBS geometry this way is that once you've created it, if you edit the base curve, so I'm going to go ahead and click on the base curve, and I'm going to turn off the selection of my actual NURBS surface here. You can do that. All these different points up here, you can toggle or untoggle selections. So if I click on this, I can't select now surface objects. So you see I can't select that, but I can select my curve here. Select this, right click on it and choose Edit Point. And now if I select one of these points, and I move it, you can see it's changing not only the curve, but it's changing the surface that was based off of that curve. And that's because of this creation history that we're using. As we build things, they're based off of operations that are attaching one object to another. Now, if I were to take this glass here, let's turn back on my selection of it, and go to Object Mode and select that. Now, if I were to delete the history, so go to Edit, Delete by Type, History, it's no longer bound to that other shape here. So if I move this off to the side and I select this object and choose Edit Point, this is no longer going to edit my shape because it's not tied to that. So let's just take this and move it over here, and let's select this one again, and I'll do another revolve, and we'll see that that's created this shape, which I can move here off to the side. And even with this moved, it's actually still bound to the shape of this curve. So I can go to Edit Point, I can select, say, the top point here, and I can widen out the mouth of this. And let's pull this one in, and that one. And actually, you know what, let's take this one and delete it entirely. So I'll just hit the Delete key, and there you go. I've edited this shape relatively significantly, retaining the shape of my curve. And again, if I select this object and delete the history, it's no longer bound to that curve, so then I can do whatever I need to that curve to continue modeling. Now, the next thing to do additional modeling beyond this simple revolve, you need more than one curve. So I'm going to take this one here and I'm just going to duplicate it, and I'm going to move one that way, and then I'm going to duplicate this one again, and I'm going to move it back the other way. And just to give ourselves a little interesting contour, I'm going to take the middle one and move it forward. So the next modeling method with curved surfaces is to use a loft, and it essentially attaches two or more curves together in order to create a smooth curved surface. So if I select these three curves in the order that I want the loft to move, so 1, 2, 3, moving left to right across the screen, and then I hit the loft button, it will create a curved shape based off of that geometry that I've selected. Now I can also edit the number of spans or the number of intermediary pieces that go in there. So as I increase this, you see it's not changing the shape of the curve, but it is giving me more spans that I could use for additional control later. So I can, once again, move the individual pieces or edit them. So I could, here, just to make this easier, let's grab this whole surface and move it over here. I could select this, edit my control points, and take this point here and pull it back, and then you can see it's editing the entire surface of the object. So you can see that in this way you can use these curves in order to start making basic geometry using NURBS modeling techniques.